The Manhattan grand jury looking into allegations against former President Trump met today, but considered evidence in a different case, as grand juries are sometimes allowed to do. Deliberations on the Trump matter are not expected to resume until next week. And I guess you've probably already figured out that means charges against President Trump cannot be expected until at least Monday of next week, if then. CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa joins us now from New York City, where he has been all week long. Robert, catch us up on where things are and what we might be able to imagine will transpire next week.
Major, good to be with you. Right now, here outside Manhattan Criminal Court, the proceedings are delayed. The district attorney, Alvin Bragg, is taking his time in terms of approaching the grand jury eventually with a vote on a possible indictment of former President Trump. At this point, the grand jury could still hear from additional witnesses. That's possible next week. But as with all grand jury proceedings, whether here or elsewhere, as a reporter, trying to be careful in making any predictions. Grand juries are held in secret, and it's hard sometimes to navigate and understand where they're moving in terms of prosecution or not.
Exactly. House Republicans, as you well know, Robert, have raised questions about Alvin Bragg, the DA there in Manhattan, accusing him of either abusing his power or going outside the lines in pursuing this case. As I gather it, Alvin Bragg has responded. Summarize that for our audience, please.
The district attorney's counsel, the office, responded today to those requests from House Republican committee chairs. And in short, it was a pushback, an aggressive pushback against these Republicans. And the argument made here by the district attorney's office was that this is an ongoing criminal investigation in New York, and that congressional oversight of an ongoing criminal city investigation doesn't make sense constitutionally or legally. These House Republicans insist, because federal funds in some ways may be used to supplement a district attorney's office in the city of New York, that they may have some kind of purview over this case. But the argument made by the district attorney's office today was that that perspective was absurd.
And it's worth noting, Robert, some conservative legal scholars have come down on the side of Alvin Bragg on that particular question of jurisdiction and whether Congress ought to be putting its nose in this business at all. On another matter, a few weeks ago, you sat down with former Vice President Pence, and he told you that he would fight all the way to the Supreme Court the subpoena from Special Counsel Jack Smith in his investigation to January 6th and classified documents. In relation to the January 6th, of course, Pence is a key figure. There were legal developments on that front. Please let us know what they are.
What we're seeing right now is an ongoing grand jury investigation of January 6th, led by the special counsel. And the prosecutors want to hear from former Vice President Mike Pence. They know he had direct one-on-one conversations with President Trump in December and January of 2021. Think back to the eve of the insurrection, January 5th, 2021. Pence met one-on-one in the Oval with Trump during the height of Trump's pressure campaign to overturn the 2020 election. Anyone investigating or reporting on January 6th would want to know more about that moment and so many others. The interactions between a vice president who Trump essentially wanted to weaponize to try to make sure he could stay in power. So the special counsel wants Pence to just talk candidly under oath about exactly what transpired. Pence's lawyers are arguing, however, that because he is a former president of the Senate, as you know, vice presidents are both vice president of the United States and president of the Senate simultaneously. Because of that unique positioning constitutionally, Pence's lawyers are arguing he should not be able to testify about something that was a congressional proceeding under what's called the speech or debate clause. That could end up, as Pence has said, before the Supreme Court sometime later this year.
And of course, Robert, it's worth pointing out that as the audience listens to that very good summary you just provided, what the special counsel Jack Smith is interested in is not necessarily what Mike Pence was doing as the presiding president of the Senate as vice president, but what he was doing as the actual vice president in those earlier conversations. And as I gather it, there is a legal argument that that can't be covered by speech and debate clause because in that role, you're the vice president, not the presiding officer of the United States Senate. Am I right about that?
And Pence has also written a memoir about his time on January 6th, and he is detailed in that book and in interviews what he experienced personally, politically, how he thought through his legal positioning with his lawyers like Greg Jacob, his chief of staff, Mark Short at the time. So a lot of Pence's experience is already in the public domain. But because of that president of the Senate role, Emmett Flood, his lawyer, based on our reporting, is ready to try to take this up, potentially to the Supreme Court, and test out whether Pence can be protected constitutionally from talking very candidly under oath, can never lie under oath, about what Trump said to him.
Robert Costa, thank you very much. Florida Governor